Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies, also known as PWD Allies Podcast. Check out your favorite podcast on Spotify or any app that you like. Today is the number 9 day. That's right, number 9 day of the series of our roundtable.
And we've got 9 people today, and we've got a whole bunch of new 9 people.
Yes, including us, 9. Today is going to be a great day. Lots to jump into today, like lots to talk about. We have some other quick announcements that we'll be making available to our viewers and our listeners who are listening on the podcast episode of this. People that are tuning in today, I will actually pass the mic over to Neil. Neil is my editor-producer for the show, so I will let Neil actually explain what's happening. And then after that, we'll jump into our panel here and continue on.
Yeah, so if anybody has any complaints about the show, they can blame me.
Yeah.
Because it's all my fault. What I wanted to say quickly before we jump into the panel is that this will actually be the last roundtable. Again, we had a segment, a little podcast, you and me, Brent, where we talked about that I can only count up to 9. I mean, it was a little bit facetious, I know, but I can only count up to 9. So we're going to kill this roundtable at 9. And the reason we're doing that is to keep the show fresh and to just move on to a new segment. So we're replacing the roundtable with a new segment starting next Monday. So it'll be Monday, November 27th, new segment called Disability Stories.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And I'm really excited about this. And so again, for people that are just tuning in and that aren't familiar with this new segment that we're going to be rolling out on Monday, the 27th, the idea behind it is it's going to be very similar to a roundtable in that we're going to still invite up to 7 other people. So there's going to be you and me and up to 7 other VIP guests, we're going to call it. And if you want to be a VIP guest too, you can. All you have to do is either reach out to Brent through his DM, through Twitter DM, or reach out to, I'm no longer on Twitter, so you have to reach out to me on my email, but you can reach out to me email or reach out to Brent and say, I would love to have a ticket. I would love to have a VIP ticket or a VIP seat on the guest panel. And then you can be one of the 6 or 7 on the guest panel. And what we're going to have with the disability stories is we're going to kind of dive deeper into a lived experience story. So the one coming up for next Monday, it'll be Monday the 27th. And again, I should qualify saying I'm leaving the window open just in case he cancels, because he's not 100% sure, but basically 99% sure. It's going to be Tom Poxton.
Tom, yes.
Tom is one of those that have been on a number of our roundtables, and for those that don't know, he recently lost his wife. His wife with a disability. She passed away, and so he's going to be coming on and just sharing that story, and we're going to be just diving into a lived experience story, kind of like, basically an impact story where we can kind of explain kind of the day in the life impact story of what it's like to have a PWD spouse that has passed away. And she is First Nations as well, Indigenous. So there's that side of it too. So I think it'll be a really interesting story to dive into. And so the idea of these disability stories is to, again, shine a light on individual stories and kind of impact statements, and then have everybody else in the panel kind of share their feedback or observation, or however you want to say it, on the story that we're sharing. And if, for example, if a story is like a short one, like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, we might have maybe 2 or 3 people sharing their lived experience story. But that's the idea behind it. And then so that's going to be every Monday, and that's going to be locked in every Monday. We're going to have that for the next 9 sessions or series. We're going to have, it's going to be a 9 series thing, 9 episode arc.
It's always been that way. It's always been about lived experience stories.
Yeah, and then on Fridays.
Here we go.
On Fridays, this is the cherry on top. This is the cherry on top. On Fridays, we're going to bring back the open mics.
Yay!
And of course, your audience from your Twitter days will know, your Twitter space days will know that the open mics were great because they were they just kind of opened the floor to anything. So if you want to talk about food banks, you can talk about food banks. If you want to talk about bus passes, you can talk about bus passes. If you want to talk about clawbacks, you can talk about that. We can talk about MAID. Anything is open, and anybody can talk about anything. And again, like the disability stories, we're going to have, again, it's going to be a VIP panel, so it's by invitation only, where it's first come, first serve. So anybody that wants to come on as a VIP panel guest can come on, and we'll have
email me.
We'll have a roundtable discussion, open mic, where anything's on the floor, and we'll discuss anything. And I think it'll be great. And all of these roundtables, so to speak, the open mics included, will have live chat as well. And as a producer, I'm going to be trying to actively follow chat as we're on the shows, and involve people when they're typing in comments. As a producer, I'll be following that, and we'll try to involve as many people as we can in the live chat in our discussions as well.
Yeah, as an extra add-on to the open mics, and see how we'll talk about pink unicorns. If you want to talk about pink unicorns, one right behind me. Oh, right. Where did you come from? And just so everyone knows, pink unicorns are not real, but government thinks they're real.
Yeah,
right.
They're not real.
They're not real. I'm really excited about the open mics, Neil. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So I encourage people who, like today's Monday, so if you want to come on Friday open mics, send me an email, weatherman.langley@gmail.com, and I can get you reserved in there.
And again, it's going to be limited seating. It's going to be like 6 or 7 seats only.
Neil, what's your email address?
My email address is neeljm.nm, @gmail.com. So it's it's neeljm.nm@gmail.com.
Yeah, and mine's weatherman.langley@gmail.com. So you can either email me or Neil. If you email me, I'll let Neil know that we've got how many people reserved.
Or you're still on Twitter. I am not, but you're still on Twitter. So if anybody has your DMs, they can reach out to your DMs as well.
Yeah, they can. Sometimes the DMs have been acting up lately. So I encourage, if you haven't heard back from me, just email me, and and I'll reach out to you, and we'll get you reserved in. I just so much looking forward to these new changes. And going forward, there's going to be just more inclusive people with disabilities, lived experience stories, and that's what it's all about, folks. I mean, it's come on onto the show. You want to be a guest? Send me a message. Send Neil a message. saying you want to come on and check out Neil Matheson's website at daddybentlegs.com, because the calendar is actually on there and it actually shows you what spots are available for guests. Yeah, what's coming up. And
I even have one or two guest spots already booked for January. So,
oh, wow.
So you can actually go all the way to January and see there's one or two spots, I believe,
That's
already
amazing.
in January. Yeah.
We're already taking bookings in. Wow. Yeah. We're not even 2024 yet.
So, and as soon as we know something is basically set in stone for a guest or a show, I try to book it in right away. So whatever is on the calendar is current. So if you're not sure what's coming up, always check that, because I do try to keep that as current as possible, so it's as up to date and current as possible.
Oh, absolutely, because like anyone can see this. Like I can show you, like this is like these are everyone's that's booked in already this month, right? So it's already filling up, and we already got now December, right? People are already booking in. So it's filling up already.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you want to be as a guest, on Tuesdays or Thursdays, definitely reach out, because Mondays we got our new series starting. Fridays open mic. If sometimes it may come up where Fridays we need to bump Fridays because we have a guest who says, "Well, I can only do Fridays," then open mic will be unfortunately bumped just that.
But we're not going to bump Mondays. Mondays I want to keep kind of unbumpable.
So I've already laid the cement already, so it's already concrete. Yeah.
But having said all this, now Brent, why don't we introduce everybody, especially the ones that are brand new to the panel today? Let's go around and introduce the new people today. Yeah. Well, we can introduce everybody, but particularly start with the new invites today.
Yeah. I know that Nick is on, and I know that they probably can't communicate right now, so I know Nick's on. Okay. Anyone else would like to introduce themselves, that'd be great, and we can just make our rounds.
We can start with Roger. We have Roger in the middle. Maybe Roger can do a quick introduction.
I want to thank Roger for coming on first. Thanks, Roger.
Very happy to be here. I'm Roger. Like I said, I'm from Ottawa.
Okay.
I'm a big, once again, advocate for food banks and food programs. So that's my big thing.
Great. And we have Samantha is a new one as well.
Hi, Samantha.
Okay. And then we have Avon down in the corner.
Hi, Avon.
Hi.
Yeah. And then we have our series regulars. We have Dan Trace.
Dan.
Over to my right-hand side. Hi, Dan.
How you doing, guys? I'm from Toronto. Sorry about the drilling in the background. Just expertise in provincial municipal politics, and was also homeless for 19 years and on disability for about 20.
Okay. Next, we have MJ.
Hey, MJ. Oh, there's Nick.
Mike.
There we go.
There you go.
Hi, Nick.
Hi. Technical problems always. I'm here because I'm on disability, and I've been at the long arm of our system of seeing how nicely abusive they can be, and I've come to the realization that the abuse has to stop. It just has to stop. And this is why I'm advocating for a universally available basic income, the ability to go and take it or leave it, whether you need it or you don't need it. You can turn it off, and there you go. And it would solve a lot of our problems and relieve a lot of stress for people that are disabled from having to jump through hoops.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, MJ.
The next one is, last but not least, is Ellen Davies.
Hi, Ellen.
I'm from Kingston, photographer, disability advocate.
Photographers rule!
Advocate. Yeah.
Yes!
We're kind of a mean bunch. We shoot people, we hang them on the wall, you know the rest. I also
we frame them. Yeah, we shoot them, we frame them, hang them on the wall. Yeah.
And I also do the tiny home thing, though I've kind of taken a bit of a break on that. A lot of the people, there are a few people that do the co-hosting for my tiny home stuff on Twitter that have been really busy with some side projects, so we haven't had a chance to do a tiny home segment since June. So bear with us, hoping the new year will. I was a little ambitious, hoping I'd get it off the ground by July out of the gate, but that didn't happen. So hoping that I can get that back up and cycling soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Alan. And next is over to Neil.
Oh, you already introduced me as your editor producer. Isn't that enough? Yeah.
I guess I'll introduce myself then, eh?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Brent. I'm the host of Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies, also known as PWD Allies podcast. Those who know me, I launched the actual show way back at the beginning of January of 2022. So the reason why I did that, I came with a vision, an idea back in December, of 2020. Of 2021, sorry. And I was thinking of, well, what do I do to bring people together? People have so many different diverse disabilities, lived experience stories, ideas. And I thought, well, I approached Neil and I said, hey, like, these are the ideas. This is my thoughts. Like, what do we do? Like, how do I get this going? And he said, I don't know. I mean, I said, well, we got Twitter Space. I mean, I've never used this. I said, how do you know barely how to use Twitter itself? I learned how to do that, but I hadn't used Twitter Space. And I thought, why don't we give this a whirl? And
Neil, so what's our catchphrase, Brent? What did we do?
What did we do?
We winged it.
We winged it, and we did it from day one, and we just went with it. Trial by error, a couple little glitches here and there. I mean, and it's like growing pains, right?
Dan Trays was our guiney pig.
Yes, he was.
Remember the first episode, Dan? There was lots of little glitches on the first episode.
Oh, God, I remember that.
That was a fun one.
But you guys always go through, so it's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on a few of the Twitter spaces with you, Brent, and they were exciting, and they were, but they got pretty rowdy there for a while.
They did.
It did. It got so it was really good at first, and then it just kind of started going sideways a bit, and then it really started going sideways. Once I opened open mic, it took off really good. Unfortunately, it was time to make a change. Like, it was this time I realized that I actually personally kind of argued with myself, if that makes any sense, in my mind, where I really wanted to keep it going, but I knew deep down that I needed to make a change, and I kind of got stubborn with myself, and I thought, no, no, I'm going to keep this going. It's going to affect itself, but I realized that I had to make it more inclusive of bringing it on to YouTube, where people could still communicate, they could still come on. And I hadn't really done the open mic on it. I think we launched it once or twice, Neil.
And it wasn't really that successful, honestly.
It wasn't successful. So we thought, you know what, let's just do the roundtables and lived experience stories, because that's what we did. And I threw it out there on Twitter Space not long ago. I think I called it PWD Chat. I tell you, people were so happy. They were just like, wow. And they didn't know at first. Hey, man, what is this? They came in, hey, it's you. Oh my God. You tried to hiding in disguise.
I know you.
I know you.
I know you.
So everyone that came in, they were just so excited. I remember MJ came in too, and we had lots of neat discussions. And then I was getting messages. My DMs were filling up saying, hey, I missed the Twitter Space. Your open mics. And I said, well, that's something that we will explore in the near future. I said, I will gather up how much interest there is, how much appetite there is for this show, right? And then here we are. We made the announcement on Fridays. Almost every Friday, we're going to try to be consistent. But like I say, things can come up. They may change. But Mondays definitely are concrete. Fridays are hopefully that we'll keep it going. And I just encourage anyone who really wants to come on those open mics, reach out. I mean, if you want, you can reach out today and just do a reserve. You want to have that spot reserved, just send us an email today and we'll reserve you.
And so it is going to be a little bit different than the past open mics, because again, in the past when they were on Twitter Spaces, you could have up to 100 people in the room, right? And like MJ has alluded to, and I've alluded to, like when they were on Twitter Spaces, they were kind of open for abuse. like some people took advantage of the fact that they got on and they could just say whatever, and they didn't even care if they were threw you under the bus, and it just kind of got ugly. There's a few of them that got ugly. So we want to preserve the good spirit, the good intent of the open mics, but kind of get rid of all the ugliness. And one of the ways to do that is just to again try to keep it, a nice condensed little group.
Gatekeeping is good gatekeeping.
Yeah, like keep it a little bit gated so that we minimize the bad behavior, right? Because
I mean, I remember an episode I had up to like 7-hour segments. I think it was 8 hours was the record breaker. It was 8 hours and 4 minutes, Neil.
Yeah, and I'll go on record now and say...
Well, that did not go down with
that's
the
same time.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And I'm going to go on... I'm going to go on record now and say that we'll never have a 4-hour open mic. The maximum will always be 2 hours, and we're going to kill it at 2 hours. And that's just facts, because it's not fair to you, Brent. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to Sonia.
Not fair to Alan's former roommate.
Four
people.
4 hours is too long.
Well, I mean, I'll dive into just a little part of that too. Part of the reasons why it's going to be now on YouTube, and the reason why it was discontinued too, because I remember Alan. I think I had you as a co-host one day, and I think it was a connection. Like we had a storm that was happening out here, and then Alan was having connection problems, and then so I had two co-hosts on, and then the other co-host lost connection, so I had no co-host on, and so I was having dinner. I took my dinner break, right? I mean, everyone's got to have a break, right? So I said, okay, everything's under control. Yeah, it's all good. I think Alan lost connection, and somebody else lost connection. So I didn't know. I figured it was all under control. Good. I can go and have my dinner. I washed some dishes. I think it was like an hour or something like that. I come back and it was just, oh my gosh. Dan, you were messaging me saying, "Oh my God, it was like a shit show was going on," and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know." Like
that's why you never leave spaghetti on the stove without stirring it.
I didn't stir it. It was empty.
Breaking out the Windex.
See, one of the things about Twitter Spaces is you get people in and they just want to be antagonistic. They don't want to offer a conversation. They just want to take a position to be abusive. And, with this, it gives the ability to go and flush out the people before you really get them out there. And seeing how far they're going to, go off the rails, as it were.
Yeah, because there was times I know that Roger, he wanted to come on and talk about, like the food programs. And some people would throw them under the bus. Like, well, no, like they didn't even want to hear that part. And I said, well, it's important to hear about food programs. I mean, and there was so many times where I said, I'll get him on the show instead. And I think it was there. I reached out to Neil and I said, well, this is what we're going to do. And I put no hints out saying there was going to be changes that are going to be happening in the new year. And that was me where I was contemplating going, okay, should I just pull the damn plug on this thing? And Neil goes, do it.
Yeah, the other thing too, we should say is like you would have like good guests on, but then like because you never some of the times you have a guest segment and you'd roll it right into open mic, so there would be no break. But then the bad thing is that you would have people that would come into the open mics and then start bad mouthing the guest that you just had on, and I mean that's not cool, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have like, in some cases it'd be like a politician. It didn't have to be a politician. Sometimes it would just be, just an advocate of some kind. And
I got a special guest here for everybody. 1 second there. One second.
Okay.
Okay. I said I got a special guest. Oh, you want to say hi? No. You don't want to say hi? No. No? Yeah. I got a special guest right here, who's actually visiting with us. It's Sonia's mom.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Now we're gonna get a bunch of super likes that you're on.
Oh,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I'm just taking Sonia out for a walk.
There you go.
Got Sonia and her mom are right here, everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Hi,
Bye.
Mom. Hi, Mom.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
only on live show here this happens, right?
A lot of the times one of the things that made the Twitter spaces so unpredictable were the trolls that had no interest in the group itself, but they would just troll for spaces that were live and would just go in there and reap havoc. I mean, we had one guy, you remember, Brent, I can't remember his name, but it was like he was reading from a script every time. And at the first or second time, you thought, okay, well, he's just repeating himself. And then you kind of caught on with a few of them that, wait a minute, I heard this last week, and I know I'm not in a deja vu loop. So when you ended up with people that would just adapt to the conversation if they had no interest in the cause itself.
There was a certain narrative that they just kept running with, and it was just like, you can only predict exactly the next wording that they were going to use. I noticed that too.
I can't remember my own scripts.
Yeah.
I don't read from scripts. I tried reading from a script one time, and this is the question you
was
can ask.
horrible. Yeah.
I was like, no, not again.
I just wanted to ask everybody. I know we had a little staff meeting before we launched, so just so everybody was aware of the program changes. But now that we're on air, I just wanted to ask publicly on air if anybody had any comment or feedback on our program changes for the new program for Disability Stories on Monday and the open mics on Friday. Does anybody have any comments or feedback?
So both, if I understand, are invite only.
Invite only, yes. Invite only.
So if I wanted to be in the open mic, I would have to give you a heads up that I would like to be part of the open mic.
Exactly.
Say like on a Tuesday, no later. So.
Well, I would say it maybe no later than maybe a Wednesday or something like that.
Okay.
If
no later than Friday at 12:30.
Yeah, well, I mean, within reason, right?
11:50.
Thursday. Sorry.
But I mean, basically, whenever the spots fill up, I mean, like we're only going to have like 6 or 7 spots. Like we've only got 9 windows, and one of the windows is me, and one of the windows is you, Brent. Yep. So we actually only have up to 7 others. Yeah, unless I get kicked off the show, we've actually only got 7 more spaces available, right? So it's kind of first come, first serve. Whoever wants to be on the show for either an open mic or a Disability Stories, let us know. And,
Mondays and Fridays.
And again, we're always going to have, for the Disability Stories one, we're always going to have at least one main guest and really dive deep into that one main guest. And again, this one coming up on Monday will be Tom Poxon talking about his wife that left us, but he's going to talk about that. And then going forward, if anybody else wants to participate in a Disability Stories and dive deep into that, they can reach out to me or you, Brent, and we'll make arrangements. Because I think it's a great idea, but I want to get feedback from everybody else. Yeah,
most definitely.
Well, if I may,
sure.
I think it's a really good idea to get statements and stories from people of how they've, because one province, telling your story from one province. I think Neil, Brent, and myself are all in BC.
Yes.
Right. Dan and Olin are in Ontario. I don't know where the rest of everyone's from. I think
Ontario as well.
Okay. and Ontario disability is different than BC disability. So
Mhm.
sharing the stories from different corners of Canada of how disability is working for them and how it's not working for them in their province, I think if we could get from like we have 13 jurisdictions here for disability, well, 14 if you include the federal government as well, because there
Mhm.
is CPP disability and other disability programs there, Veterans Affairs, and how those, all of these benefit programs, if we could get stories from all of these people from different corners of the country, that
Mhm.
I think would be really helpful to go and make the case, as the saying goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may take longer than 9 shows, by the way.
Well, like I said, I'm gonna kill it off anyway, and after 9, and then we'll have another one like maybe what we'll have MJ. Like this is an example. I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but as an example, we can have a roundtable about cerebral palsy, so that then it'll be
Right.
like me and MJ and Ellen.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
or
Well, important
we can have one on autism, or
Yeah.
like you said, we can have one on
Undiagnosed,
transportation or whatever, right?
accessibility or food banks, like food programs, food banks. It's endless ideas that
Mhm.
we can dive into.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless, right? So
And
Yeah.
for anyone listening on the chat, we definitely want to hear from your ideas. You can throw them there or email the guys here because we definitely want to hear other
Yeah.
ideas outside
Yeah.
of our own.
yeah,
Yeah.
like if anybody has a good idea for a show, like that's another thing I do mention quite often, but I'll say it
Yeah.
again, is that if you go to my website, and again, this is a shameless plug for my website, but if you go to my website, daddybentlings.com, and then you go to, there's a tab on there called media. There's a media tab on there. You go to the media tab, and on the media tab near the bottom, it says, do you want to be a guest on Brent's podcast? But not only that, like even if you didn't want to be a guest on the podcast, but you had an idea for a show idea, just write in and send it off, and it goes right to me, and say like, if it was Roger could type in and say, I want to talk about food. I want to talk about food banks, and then he click send, and I go, well, that's a great idea, Roger. Let's do that, and then then we'll do a show on food banks. And so if anybody has some good ideas on what they want to see on the podcast, let us know, because that's
And if
how
they
we
want-
make the show better, is to involve people's ideas on. I want to see this on the show. I want to see this.
I mean, they may say, well, I don't want to be on the round table like part of the group that week, but I want to come on your show as a guest, as a one-on-one. And yeah, definitely. I mean, if that's what you want, then reach out and we can schedule you in. Like there may be a week where we're booked up and say, well, yeah, we can get you on the following week. Do you want to wait till then? Well, I'd rather talk about it sooner. Well, then we can then say, well, come on to the round table, right, and reserve a spot. We can get you on. Either or, we'll make it work. Not to worry. I mean, lived experience stories is so important to get out there. And if you want your story to be heard, like a part of a segment of your life, I mean, maybe not your whole life story, but if there's a part in your life where you really want to have it amplified and you want people to hear about that, something that's affected your life directly for whatever it is, come on the show.
And even if also you wanted to come on the show, but let's say you were uncomfortable with the idea of it being live, because there are going to be the occasions, like even with some politicians, they don't have the time, right? They only have like maybe 15 or 20 minutes sometimes, and there's actually no real time to set up a live show, so we have to do pre-recorded. But so let's say we have just any guest. Let's say MJ says, I want to come on, but I'm not comfortable with the idea of it being live. So that's fine, MJ. We'll do a pre-recorded segment, and then we can, if you didn't like parts of it, we can edit it down to a tighter segment or whatever, right? So that's a possibility as well. It doesn't have to be a live thing. We like it. We like it that most of them are live. That's the preference. But if anybody's not comfortable with it, we don't have a problem with
Yeah, and then that
having
goes to anybody who wants to come on, who's actually even on the call, like even today, like on the roundtable. That if you don't feel comfortable with it being live, people will be able to send comments in or listening to it, as a live recording. Yeah, for sure. Like there's so many options we can do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, exactly, and I mean, I think we've actually covered this to infinitum. So I don't know if you want to move forward in the conversation.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Sorry, I mean, we've covered this for a bit here.
Let's open it up then. Let's open up the room. Yeah.
Yeah. Any feedback of any ideas of what people want to see here, etc.
Yeah. What was some big takeaways? Like this is the 9th now roundtable. What was here's a question for everybody. What was one of your best takeaways of doing this series? What's one or two things that you really appreciated from the series, or your like I said, your big takeaway from doing the 9-part series?
Well, what I'll say is like my big takeaway personally is as MJ said earlier, a lot of us are from various jurisdictions, and as I said, my expertise is in municipal and provincial politics. So I've really enjoyed hearing the different aspects of the federal issues going on, CDB and disability benefits, and I think that's a great idea going forward to have at least one person from all 13 jurisdictions or what have you. And the takeaway from this is just getting together with the minor hiccup, but getting together with everybody and just hearing about, because nobody knows everything. Anybody, whether it be a politician or a person in here or on the street that tells you they know everything, they're an effing liar, right?
Understandable.
Today. But just to get together and hearing about different issues from across the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I totally can echo that one. Totally. For my takeaway, as a host, listening to how the roundtable is going, I mean, it's so successful. I mean, and it's going to continue on. It's just a different name that we're going to be putting in there of it. So, I mean, having the positive feedback. But my takeaway, I enjoy hearing a lot about the basic income, the different types of program, the programs like Tom, the basic income guy. He piles right into it, and his guitar, his live segment that he does when he comes on, he plays some tunes for us, and his perspective of basic income. MJ, I love your view of it too. I mean, Joseph, he the numbers guy, he basically dives right into it too. And late in the last part of it, where Joseph has kind of really dived into the one segment, and I really encourage everyone to listen to the podcast where 60 seconds. It was the 60 seconds that Joseph really crunched down.
The short that I did for the short.
Yeah. Because
but actually listen to the whole thing. Actually, it was a great segment.
It was. It was fabulous, and I'm not saying that anyone's viewpoints are not as important, but it's just that one takeaway part that he really dived into, and then hearing just people's lived experience stories. I mean, on the podcast, like what we're doing now, and I mean, while we've been doing that, we learned from what happened with Tom and Tom's other half, and that it really touched me because I Tom's local here too, and I met up with Tom just recently. I bumped into him when I was downtown, and so it was quite nice that he just sat down with a cup of coffee, and we just
that's good.
Had a discussion there. Takeaway as an overall view, I think everyone has awesome viewpoints on how we all interact with each other in a positive way, and we learn, and that's what I've learned from everything that's going on. I have no expertise either. That's why I like to hear, is it about autism? Is it about cerebral palsy? Is it about ADHD? Is it about all the different conditions? What are food banks?
A lot of the invisible disabilities too.
There are so many, Neil. There are so many invisible disabilities out there, and yeah, that's one of the segments that we're going to be diving into too.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that.
Like,
too.
and again, off camera when we were having our little staff meeting, I made the point that what's impressed me as a producer is, like I said, like everybody here has got very strong opinions, but even with the very strong opinions, everybody here for the last 9 tables has been very respectful. Like we don't over talk each other. Everybody waits their turn, and you know, and that's why I like, and that's what I appreciate. And you know, everybody here who's an advocate, everybody has their own individual passions. Like for me, it's the clawbacks, right? It'll always be the claw. That's my big passion. And I know for you, Brent, it's always you were, to me, you're always the 375 guy, right? You're the 375 guy and the transportation guy, you know. And and for Dan, it's the homelessness, and you know, everybody's got their thing. For Roger, it's the food banks, you know. But everybody's got their one really big passion thing that they're really passionate about, and that's what I love. I love that everybody can come together and really dive deep into their passions and share their passions. I mean, that's what it's about, right?
It is so important, you know. And when you all saw Sonia's mom, she dived into there. I mean, we taught her something earlier too about the bus pass. Neil, I was going to bring that up here too. I mean, so she traveled all the way from Nanaimo. She lives in Nanaimo. She traveled all the way to Duncan, and then from Duncan, she jumped on another bus that came from Duncan. It goes to Victoria. Now, a lot of you hear me ranting and raving about that all the time because, like, her mother is still. She says, "I don't understand. So I can only come on a Saturday, you know, to and from." I said, "No. I mean, you can go on a weekday, but you got to leave early in the morning from Nanaimo. But you can't go." She goes, "I can't go during the day." I go, "Nope. You can go to Duncan, but you can't get to Victoria. So you can leave early in the morning on a Friday, or I mean on a weekday, from Nanaimo to Duncan, right? And then you need to catch the 9:23 bus in the morning that leaves Duncan to Victoria. If you get there at 10, sorry, you now got to wait till 9:23 the next morning again. So now you got to spend the night there. You see what I mean? There is a problem where Cowichan Valley, which is Duncan, a community of Duncan, they blame Victoria. Victoria blames Cowichan. So nobody really ever gets it done. And then the government, I say to them, well, can you not intervene? Well, there's more to do. There's more to do. Well, I'm saying transportation is a basic essential service. So we taught her mom something. We learned something today. We were talking about the bus pass clawback, Neil. And she says, well, why? Seniors get it, don't they? I go, yeah, they get it, but you have to apply for it. You don't just get it, you apply for it. She goes, well, then why don't the disabled have it? I go, they did though. I said, I talk about this on my podcast. And she goes, oh, I go, yeah, the government took it away, but they said the computer system was dismantled. She goes, oh, that is a crock. She said, that is a crock. And I said, it is. I am glad you agree.
Crock of bleep.
So I mean, so fast forward on it is we actually taught her to go and apply for it. So she's going to apply for it. She probably didn't do it today. She probably didn't do it today. I told her to do it while I'm doing my podcast. She'll probably look at it tomorrow, or the next day. But she's going to apply for it, so she gets a 1-year pass then.
Okay. Dan's got his hand up.
Yeah.
Do you want to chime in, Dan?
I just wanted to ask very quickly, and I don't want to put nobody on the spot here or anything, but for any of the new people here, I'm just curious, like A, you can share part of your story if you'd like, obviously, but B, what brought you here? Like, what did we do good, and what do you think we can do better going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dan. That's a good question.
Very good question, Dan. I like that. Thanks.
Does anybody want to chime into that?
I know Nick's just observing, listening. And Avon, I'm not sure, she may or may not be able to chime in on that, or she may be in the same situation as Nick, just listening. I'm not sure, but
I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, if you feel comfortable talking, then you can.
Okay.
I know Nick's situation.
I don't want to interrupt you guys when you're speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what brought you here, Avon? Like what the podcast. I think Dan's question. I don't want to speak for Dan. Dan could probably
Right.
you could probably say, but what amused you? I guess should we say brought you here? I think that's what Dan means is what amused you. Like brought you here to want to come on the podcast to be part of the discussion panel.
For people with disability,
Yes.
well, I just wanted to learn more, and I wanted more support with people with disabilities. Like if we can get more support, and the government doesn't really always help people with disabilities, but I just want I want us to be able to have our disability. We don't have as much income. I want the government doesn't help. There's lots of things that we need more help with. So
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I think she covered that really really well. Wow, that's real awesome, Aben. I think did she answer your question, Dan? I'm not sure. She might have.
Oh yeah. No, like I said, it wasn't meant to put
No.
on the spot. I'm always curious, especially with people like MJ was alluding to earlier, people that are not from this province where we have a buffoon for a premier, Ontario, in case you didn't know. But yeah, I always love the perspectives from different areas. And like I said earlier, it's always good to learn. So you know what you're talking about when you're going in, and you can respect others, as they would respect you as well, right?
And that's one thing that I've learned, like say with advocacy, is learning from other people, learning their ideas, like learning their viewpoints of saying, okay, okay, I messed up. Whoops, I didn't know that. Like I've had that happen for myself, where I'm like, pardon my language. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know that, and I had to apologize a few times because there was like some numbers mixed up, thinking, oh well, I thought people in Nova Scotia were on disability. No, they don't have a disability status there. They have income assistance, which some people call it welfare. I call it income assistance because I like to make it a little bit more. It's not dignified, but I like to give it, like a little bit of a, I don't know.
Not only that, Brent. I mean, I think the vast majority of people that aren't disabled just assume that everybody's living in a subsidized house.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, of course, if you're living in a subsidized house, $1,000 a month is plenty. But the problem is it's like we were saying the other day with Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, it's $1,000 a month, and that's not including your rent or your housing. And that is disgustingly low, right?
That is really low.
And it's not like Halifax is one of those provinces that has, like Newfoundland might have, where the cost of living is.
Oh my gosh! It's
further lower. I know I have friends in Halifax. It is not cheap.
No, it's very.
Same with New Brunswick. It's or Newfoundland for that matter. I know people that are looking to buy property on the East Coast, and I'm like, yeah, but that $1,000 isn't going to go very far. And when you live in Newfoundland, which is everything almost has to be shipped in. It's not quite as bad as the Northwest Territories, but if you live in St. John's on the island or one of the areas around St. John's, we talk about greed inflation being like paying $7 for a loaf of bread. They're probably paying $10-12 for that same loaf of bread. So though the rent might be $300 cheaper than it is Ontario, that's going to get eaten up by going to the grocery store. So that whole the grass is greener on the Ontario's too expensive, so I'll just go to Newfoundland and live on one of the islands. And I'm like, but say goodbye. So what you're saving rent, you'll just lose at the grocery store anyway.
Exactly. There's no balance. There's no balance on it, right? Because it's like, sure, you can get cheap housing, we used to hear that argument in BC, AMJ or Neil.
Yeah, we have MJ with his hand up actually. So
yeah,
MJ
yeah.
can-
It's like the government would say, "Oh, yeah, move up north. It's cheaper." Well, you can get housing cheaper. Your cost of living's not cheaper. But it's over to you, MJ, on that. It's just good time on that.
Well, and this is the thing is people forget. It's like you see the news stories about living up north. It's like you buy, a 2 liter container of milk, $10 or $15, or potatoes, a bag of potatoes that we pay, normally $3-5 for could be $10 to $15. I mean, people don't, in the South really don't have the understanding of what it is to live in the North. And, it's the same as understanding the difference of living, in Alberta, Newfoundland, Ontario, Saskatchewan with disability or whichever province or territory, and it's all different. And there's no homogenization in dealing with disabled people in any way, shape, or form. And the one thing I have learned in coming to this is listening better. Because you actually when you're actually actively listening to what people are saying, and not just what they're saying, but how they're saying it, you have to start to get the feel of how it's really, truly affecting them on the personal level. And listening to everyone's stories has, opened my eyes up to understand that I think, where I'm going with my ideas is the right path, and where GLBI and all the rest is, we're all going in the same direction. I just think we need to go and convalesce and just have a sit down and say, let's hash this out and figure out the best and easiest way to solve these problems for everyone. So learning differences in ideas and perspectives and how other people are approaching the same problem to get to the end result has been very enlightening for me.
I totally can relate to that. Listening, like I say, listening to different ideas and different stories or what people are going through, it really opens my eyes. I do know that talking with other advocates across the country and networking with them and organizations and hearing what what they have to say. They're all echoing, saying that these programs are archaic. They're designed purposely not to actually serve the actual clients that it's supposed to, or what they want the general public to think that they're serving, right? So they're not serving them properly. So like a basic income is something that, or something like that, is something that we need as citizens in Canada going forward. And then, of course, how do we get to it, or which program is going to be better? Who knows? But to sum it all up, is all these programs, basic income's already there. I know I've said this before on podcasts, because EI, CPP, and GIS, OAS for seniors, right? Child tax credits, GST, like we all get. Well, the government, as we all know, government takes more tax, GST. But here you go. Here's a little bit back. Hey, Nick, here you go. Here, Evan. Here's a little bit back for you, though, because, what the heck, right? This is what we're doing. Or we give they call it a grocery rebate. Well, double the GST. Well, here you go. Rather little pebbles back to you. And this is nothing against the disabled people or low income people, watching this. But my point is that the government can do a lot better for citizens across Canada, right? Because if they can give out billions of dollars as tax giveaways to corporations in other countries, can we not take care of our own citizens first? Make sure they have the proper resources, food, housing, your disability related services that you need. You need a new mobility scooter. You need dental work. They say they're working on all that, but of course, as we know,
sorry, Alan, we have a hand up from Nick. I just wanted to get to Nick before, and I'll go back to Alan.
Yeah. Go for it.
Oh, before we get to the next segment, anyways, I just wanted to clear up on things about the thing that Brent was saying.
Yeah.
About the thing that the government are saying that about us going up north and yada yada. But like gas prices are shot up in the roof, and that's a big problem here in BC. that we do have too. So
Yeah, well, 179.9, Nick, in Victoria right now.
Oh,
179.9.
Yeah.
Yeah, very high.
too bad.
And the part, just to kind of comment on your comment, is the government acknowledges that BC is the most expensive province in Canada, right? Okay, well then do something about it.
Yeah.
Do something to show that you actually are going to help people with disabilities.
And Ontario's not too far behind. Like I think I think BC and Ontario are pretty close.
When it comes to policies, BC and Ontario are pretty close on their policies. Governments never want to admit that, but it is. It's like what BC does, Ontario does.
Yeah.
I know I've dived into that segment before, but I mean, going down to that, it's that, as Jeff Leggett would always say, just raise people above, at or above that poverty level. Now, what is the real poverty level? That would be another segment altogether. But what I look at it is just give people enough money to live. Right. I mean, let them make that decision, autonomy, let them make that decision, what their needs are. And so if they don't want to be in subsidized housing, well, then give them enough money. If they want to be in subsidized housing, that's fine. At the end of the day, it really comes down to people saying, I don't have enough money. So is it they need to be in subsidized housing to get more money? Or do you just give them more money that they're living in they rent from a corporate landlord and their rents are high? Well, okay, then give them enough money. If they haven't used all that money in rent, well, now they can buy more food. They can go to a grocery store, go and buy nutritious food at a vitamin store. You get your vitamins if you're not getting all your minerals properly. And I take vitamin supplements. I mean, low in iron sometimes, so I just take some of those, or vitamin D or whatever. Get some sunshine. Probably don't need vitamin D, but. Breaking with Brent. So so
anyway, we are almost at the top of the hour, so I didn't know if maybe we should take some final comments. I'll go back to Ellen. Do you want to have a final comment, Ellen?
Well, I mean, I look at the affordability, and I probably am in agreement with MJ on a lot of the UBI kind of platform. I think it would be nice if there was one where we could bank a portion of it. But I also think of UBI and the tiny house style living to coalesce in a lot of ways, because we know that these corporations are just they can say, okay, well, these corporations can't buy one home housing for 6 months, but after the 6 months, sure, go ahead. So
right,
for them to leave property sitting empty for years and years is nothing for them, because that $30,000 penalty is nothing when they own several condo buildings or condos themselves, and they're just sitting empty. They're like, I'm making so much an asset on my portfolio that $30,000 is like someone going and buying a lottery ticket for the week,
they're still making money. They're still making money.
The penalty is so arbitrary to them. They're like,
chunk change.
What? 30,000? That's all you're finding me?
That's it. That's just chunk change. Oh, okay.
They're probably making 30,000. Some of them are making probably close to that in their interest per month.
Yeah, or day. I mean,
or per year. So a $30,000 fine for them. They're going, well, okay, so we're not getting any interest this year, but I'm clear for another 10 years. So, so the tiny home thing is it's like the UBI. I think it's going to become a question of when, not if, and with the government not building co-ops, the CHMC not building co-ops at a rapid rate like they used to, you're going to see more people saying, the heck with this. I'm on a variable mortgage. I can't even my bank is sending me threatening letters and stuff. So you're going to see more and more people under the $60,000 umbrella just saying, "The heck with owning a house because I don't know what's coming down the pipeline. I'll just go to a tiny house, rent the property, and cut someone's lawn."
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But it's particularly for people who have a disability, and I'll cut off here, but particularly for people with disabilities where their social assistance is not recognized by banks.
Yeah.
There needs
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be, I think I mentioned this in the very first roundtable, is that we need to give people who property owners an incentive to like a dividend or something, a benefit or something, just like the climate thing, kind of a rental version of the climate action incentive thing. So if they are if they are providing land for people to have tiny homes, there's whether it's in the south in the urban areas or if it's out in the country, they're getting $200-300 back
Mm-hmm.
to offset property tax. And
Mm-hmm.
this is going to make them say, okay, well, I don't mind having a tiny house on my or a couple on my property because I'm not taking the full brunt of my property tax. But
Right.
also on the flip side, people who if there's UBI, people can go to a private get private they can loan from a family member or a church could even get in on this and create some kind of loan where the amount they would pay in rent of the shelter could go to that loan,
Mm-hmm.
so they could get that $110,000 tiny house built uh,
Interesting.
and paid
Interesting.
for. So essentially, they're paying instead of paying a landlord $600 because there's no subsidized housing or RDA, they're able to take that $600 or $700 and pay the church every month until their mortgage is paid up. And the church technically owns a tiny house, or an organization tiny owns the tiny house until that mortgage is up. But within 10 years, it's paid.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I lived in Toronto for 7 years. I was paying $1,300 for a one bedroom.
Wow.
It was in a co-op, so it was still market, and I think I probably burnt about $160,000 in the bucket, and I'm not even talking about utilities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That $160,000 in 7 years, that could have been a tiny house right there,
Yeah.
and a
Right.
good one with modern appliances, and it wouldn't be DIY. It would be properly insulated. It would have solar and all that stuff on it. And I could have taken that tiny house and found an elderly couple, um, and put my tiny house on that property or in an alleyway of some kind,
Mm-hmm.
backyard entrance, whatever the case may be. So the UBI can really open a door, not just in supporting people, but actually opening home ownership in a way that is fiscally feasible. Because we
Mm.
know that whether we give a church $500 a month or $700 a month every month for 10 years, or we give it a landlord, it's still going to have to get paid. It's just
Mm.
the end game is after 10 years you own your home, whether it's 40 feet long or 20 feet long or whatever it may be. It's a done deal, and the problem with the government is maybe they're starting to wake up, but I don't think they are. I think they're looking at a short game. They're not realizing that the amount if they start putting money into the bottom before they feed the top, um, they're spending more money in healthcare and all these sorts of things like shelters that are turning people away because there isn't enough space.
rent to own is the
Yeah,
best solution.
you're giving property owners an incentive, $150, $200 every month. As long as those tiny homes or whatever they are on that property, maybe they have to photograph that they're on the property, or they have to show a rent slip for the property space, whatever it may be. As long as they're proving that that they're not getting money for an empty field or an empty property, they get that incentive, and the UBI amount allows someone to get financing through whatever organization or church to get that property, because $160,000 tiny house for a church that has a good following is nothing. They're making that on a Sunday night in donations.
We've got the checkered flag from MJ, I think we have reached the end. We have reached the end of the show. So I'm gonna leave the final comment to you, Brent.
Yeah, that's
as we cross the finish line. Bring us across there, Brent.
Well, I mean, we've got a few minutes. If you want to just quickly go to, we'll give it to a quarter after. That's fine. We'll go to each person, and then I'll do my ending comment.
Okay.
That way, everyone's got a chance to jump in.
Okay. Well, I've got one quick one, and that's to again, wearing my producer hat on. I just encourage everybody that if you do like the content that we put out, it does help to grow the channel. Even if you don't want to subscribe, of course, subscribing helps. But even if you just leave a comment, if you heart a comment, if you share the content, anything you can do to help push the content out. So even if you're hesitant to subscribe, hit subscribe. Mm-hmm. You can still leave a comment, heart a comment, like I said, put your little heart on, or put a little thumbs up, or whatever you want to do. Anything that you do to interact with the channel helps push the channel in YouTube's metrics. So help us grow the channel by doing that, please. Yeah.
Absolutely. Over to, let's see, who would like to speak next?
Oh,
we've
Nick's got his hand up.
We've got Nick again.
Okay.
Hey, Nick. Anyways, yeah, I would like to thank you all for having me on this podcast and stuff like that, and I'm just so happy because I'm disabled myself. I have 3 disabilities. I'm a PWD, and I struggle through day-to-day stuff like transportation and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like to put that out there. And also, I love what your guys are doing. Podcast is so awesome. Keep it up.
Okay.
And hopefully we get the news out there, and stay positive and keep going.
Yeah, good. I want to hear from Roger. Roger's If Roger's still around, I want to hear if he's enjoyed his first dipping the toe into our podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really say much except for in the actual meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I was more listening and taking in what was being said, and but I hope that in future I'll be more forthcoming in other ways, not just the actual meeting. So
sure,
I do want to come back.
Good.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. Alrighty.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I love your input, Roger. I mean, and everyone on our panel, input on how you see things are going, and what you're liking, what you'd like to see changed, or any add-ons, and just talk about your lived experience stories. I mean, it's so important. I mean, there's so many people that have disabilities that are not diagnosed with disabilities, and as the population gets older, we get more disabilities, right? And And for me, I want to make sure that people have the proper income going forward. It's so important. I look back at when I was a kid. You could buy 3 items just over $1. I mean, really? And that wasn't that long ago. It's scary, right? It shows you how inflation has really taken off. But it's not just inflation, though. I mean, it's what I want to emphasize.
Shrinkflation too.
It's like what governments are saying. Oh, it's inflation. I've seen things going up before inflation started going up. They claim that, right? I mean, it's opportunity, as we know. I mean, it's just companies, big corporations. The opportunities there. They're going to take advantage. Same as housing. I mean, I move out of here, they're going to get $1,750 for this unit, just like that. I mean, easily, or $2,000. I mean, probably by $2,000 by the time I move, or more. It's scary stuff, right? Different approaches on how to make sure people have the right income. One thing I did suggest to our provincial government, Neil, as you know, MJ knows about this story too, and Nick and Avon. Actually, Nick and Avon probably don't know this story. No, I'm going to quickly mention this. So I mentioned to our minister, Nick and Avon, just recently, I had a meeting in person with actually Sonia, yeah, you're like, oh, hi, Sonia. And Nick could be like, no, she's in the other room. What's her mom right now? Sitting there. But we had a meeting actually, and Jeff Leggett and Sonia and myself had a meeting with the minister too. We had the minister actually on the podcast too. I asked the same comment. I said, well, my recommendation to help people because of the affordability, so that they got more money in their pocket, they can put the money back into the community, right? You go and help small businesses. That's what the government keeps saying. Help small businesses. Well, how will you do it if your money's all paid out to your corporate landlord, right? So my suggestion was there's a lot of PWD that are on a waiting list to get into subsidized housing, or maybe they don't want to be in subsidized housing. Maybe they don't want to be because there's such a long list. There's many years. My recommendation was that to actually gear it to people that are in private rental market sector. Okay, so a corporate landlord owns that building. I live in a corporate landlord building. They're really nice. I wish that manager was on site, but they're not. They just come by and to each building that they need to manage, right? But so here's the thing: rather than paying high market rent to that corporate landlord, now you get RGI, rent geared to income. Okay, so it's like being in subsidized housing, but you're not in subsidized housing. Seniors get it. Seniors can live in the same building. I know because I have a couple seniors in this building, and they get RGI. And I said, oh, and so I talked to them. I had a little meeting with them one day, and I said, well, okay, so you get it. Why do you? And they're like, why don't PWD get it? I go, that's a good question. I said, I think
one of these things is not like the other. One of these
we
things is not the
definitely
same.
get it.
like the other. It's like that's where the pink unicorn pops up here. You see, because it's like pinning disabled people against disabled people, saying, well, you can have subsidized rent, but no, you get to pay higher because you want to live in this sector. Well, I said to make it fair, bring it in, and all you have to do is make a new one. Because right now, seniors, people watching this right now, or watching it later or listening, I'm going to explain it really briefly here.
Did you use the word fair, Brent?
Fair. Fairness and equity in the system.
That's blasphemy, Brent.
It's supposed to be fairness and equity.
Fair is blasphemy.
But it's not fairness and equity in the system. Now, the system is designed the way that it's supposed to be designed because that's how the government designed it. So it wouldn't be fairness, because if it was, PWD right now would actually have that option of saying, oh, okay, I can live in a townhouse. I can live there. They can live anywhere. Just imagine that. They can live anywhere and still pay RGI. Wow, imagine that. RGI, rent geared to income. So now the landlord at the end of the day is still going to get their money, because if you don't pay it, then you're going to go, right? Now seniors get it. Why? Because I actually worked with my mom with that situation. Now you rent geared to income. So now she would normally pay a portion. She now pays lower. She gives it to her landlord. She gets an income from the government as a subsidy, that plus that equals that. She's now got more money in her pocket, more money for PWD. Also, you can now put that money into, you can, if you're not getting all the food that you need, say from a food program that you would go to. Maybe there's things at the grocery store you need to go and buy. Go, hey, I haven't bought that in years. I'd love to go and buy that. You can now treat yourself to something special, or go to a restaurant, support a local, like a local cafe or coffee shop. Why not, right? You got more money rather than giving to corporate landlords. So I said, where seniors have theirs, okay, so it's called in BC. I don't know about other provinces, they have different names. BC, for instance, it's called Safers, okay? Now, or you got what's it called now? Basically, single mothers, single fathers, they actually have it. It's called RAP, and I called it RAP.
Yeah.
RAP. Okay, it's a residential assistance program or rent assistance program, and now PWD, they're not part of that equation because they actually have the 375. Called the 375 guy. Oh well, because you get 375, you don't qualify for under the BC housing umbrella for that. So they take the 375 away. They replace it now with RGI. So we'll call it VIP. PWD VIP, just for instance, I just throw it out there, some made up name, right? So now that classification is now PWD now fit into that new formula. Boom. Hey, a person, they could go and live with their grandma. They could go and live wherever they want. It's not going to get affected. However, it needs to be based on the individual, not household income. It needs to be tied to the individual. That's the part I'm working with the government on, because I need them to make sure it's not based on household, because if they do, it screws up the whole household. Mm-hmm. Now a whole bunch of people now have to go. Yeah. So, lots of work, advocacy to do on that. That's an idea. And the minister said, I love it when you think outside the box, Brent.
Anyway, we should punch out now, Brent. It's we're going overtime, so I didn't know if you want to do one last final comment, or we'll give the final comment to Dan if he wants.
I'll throw it out to Dan. I've done enough. I've taken up a lot of air today.
I'll be very quick so we can actually get a final quick comment from NJ, because NJ's been a start here. I've learned a lot from about the numbers from him and Joseph and from everybody else, and just how you get involved, right? Obviously, like Neil said earlier, like, share, subscribe videos there. Neil Matheson on YouTube, and if you're in the Toronto area, check out @DJP624 on YouTube. Trigger warning ahead of time. I like to curse. I'm very blunt and upfront, but anything to do here in
swear
Toronto, the swear jar is pretty damn full, but it's so empty to I tipped it over by accident. But just stay involved like this, and appreciate each and every story I hear, and I can't wait till the open mic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. Something's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. MJ, over to you. Thanks, Dan, on that.
My microphone here. I put it up. When it comes to all of these programs, I mean, I just look at the rules that they set up. Is they put our legal rights in the Constitution are everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel, unusual treatment or punishment. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And it's time to end this treatment that they've come up with for us, and it does feel like a punishment for just being disabled.
The problem is they use the Constitution and they put it at the bottom of a litter box. That's my problem. That's my problem.
That is very true. And I just believe that as human beings, that we have a duty to go and make things better, right? And that's really where it's at, is we have the duty to make things better. If we have an idea, let's put it out there. If somebody takes the idea and runs with it and makes it even better, great. And this is where, to me, solving the problems has to be done with simplicity, without ambiguity, without bias, without terms and conditions, without all of these things that they've put into place that go and find reasons to exclude you, to what's the word I'm looking for? Basically put you off to the side, basically treat you, discriminate in any way, shape, or form. These things need to all come to an end. All forms of discrimination are bad. Doesn't matter how you like them or dislike them, or, we just need to stop with playing these games about you don't meet this term or this condition. You're not this, you're not that. No, if you need help, the help should be there. It should be very simple to say, yes, you need it or you don't need it. Take it or leave it. I mean, after all, you shouldn't have to be told that, oh, we're only going to pay for half a wheelchair, Neil.
Right.
After all, that type of indignant behavior from our system.
You're not that disabled.
Yeah.
You don't really need the wheelchair.
Which part of did you want, Neil? Did you want the front part of the wheelchair or the back?
Just the wheels. Just the wheels.
Just the wheels.
Yeah.
Just the wheels.
Brandwin Park.
But that was a good mic drop for MJ. So that's a good one to go out on. So.
Yeah. And the final note is respect, dignity, autonomy for all PWD across Canada. Every single PWD, respect, autonomy, everything that they need. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.